compatible. Okay, I'm gonna link the stream to some friends. Where is... I will be getting started in just a second. I'm sure it's noticeable that I have emotes now. Pretty big deal. I haven't finished making all of them, but there is... Sorry, I'm sending the link. I'm gonna make sure I think that's everyone who wanted to be informed. Okay. Yep, I think that's everything. I believe it's all ready to go. Oh, I did not mean to do that. There we go. Okay, here we go. Up, I have not. There we. Let me. Let me allow you to see my poetry. There we go. I also need to set up more things. But I do have my axolotl coins now, and they have a cute little axolotl on them as what they are. I have not streamed in a hot minute. Okay. Oh my goodness. I wonder who that could be. Sorry, I am just making sure everything is functioning. It appears to be, and my little talking's on the correct level. It's picking me up. I just haven't streamed in months at this point. So I have a thing I do where I will challenge people to I shouldn't have scrolled that fast. I will challenge Yeah. Thank you. What should I call should I call you natural or fire or wave? Or natural fire wave? But yeah, I do a thing where I am on stream, someone gives me a title and it's a challenge, and I write a poem. And the idea is some people might give me a nice title that's easy to write a poem from, and others might give me, say, this. Okay, I'll call you Firewave. But the main thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read some poetry. I believe you've heard this one before, but there are others who haven't. And then I'm gonna go over. Well, let's go past the secrets. But then I'm gonna go over the lore I'm making for for a character in a Minecraft SMP server I'm gonna be in. Oh, yeah. Hi, Treehouse. But okay. Well, in that case, I will be glad to read it again. And then I have other poems I can pick from, ones I've read on stream before, but I'm plenty willing to read them again. And the idea is I write some more lore poems and maybe develop the lore for my characters as well. Oh, well, this is definitely a new poem. But, so this is the one that's just a general poem, and the other document I was in, that's the lore document with the lore poems. It's not Lil Mia Cassand, the character. It's Lil Mia Cascade, which is entirely different person. Not similar in the slightest. She just looks exactly like me. Don't worry about it. And has the same name and almost the same last name, but it's different. It's an OC. It's okay. I'm laughing, but it is just because I was like, it'll be easier. I know when we're playing on the SMP, I know I'll respond to Lil Mia, and it is my Minecraft username, so I'm gonna stop waffling around and read this. The Poet in Me. The poet in me screams to write all the time, and I have to go, no, I have schoolwork. The poet in me then starts composing angry poems about the state of education in America. This happens against my will at least 8 to 9 times a day. Sometimes I try to argue with the poet in me. Hey, if it's too clearly a fan poem, I can't add it to my portfolio or get it published. Make it more vague, please. The poet in me cries and starts writing poems about the injustices poets face in this world. Hate it when my poems have required reading, but the poet in me delights in intertextuality. The poet in me tries to drag me to the window to watch the rain. I have to remind them it's nearly midnight and I have somewhere to be tomorrow. The poet in me complains loudly that I never let them do anything. Once I remember sitting waiting for a meteor shower that was supposed to be once in a lifetime. The poet in me keeps saying it'll be worth it. I am bitter when by the end of the night and the rising of the sun we saw only one shooting star. When I stare at the screen with the news blasting through me like artillery, the poet in me gets angry. I have to say, I can't fix anything right now. I'm young and no one knows me. The poet in me goes quiet and starts writing. Why aren't you saying anything? You're always so loud, I ask. The poet in me speaks back, for once quiet and calm. I'll write enough poems that one day the world will know your name and your voice will be strong enough to push for change. That's a very idealist view, I say. We both know the world doesn't work that way. The poet in me will scribble out my thoughts and write instead about hope and living. Sometimes I sit down to write about the aching sorrow and pain and grief and hopelessness, and the poet in me will wrench my hand from my own grip and instead write with it, a poem about living anyways. The poet in me screams to write all the time, even when I have no time, like a toddler with their favorite toy taken away. I can't write right now. The poet in me will bite at my heart until it bleeds. You will bleed out unless you stop bottling it up and write for me. The poet in me cannot be killed, no matter how they are starved. No matter how I drown in society, the poet in me creeps through the darkness and steals me scraps of dreams abandoned on the street, bares their teeth at the alley rats that threaten to steal their catch, and then returns to me, the poet in me, and feeds my soul until I too cannot starve in a world so empty. If I look at my reflection, the poet in the mirror bares their teeth at me, proud of who they are and ready to defend me. Today I unleash the poet in me, let them write down all that anger and all that love and let my heart pour out into the world until I can look down at the paper and know I am the poet the world will see. And that's the poet in me. I wonder if I can shrink this so I can see what. There we go. If I can make it so that the screen is a bit more, like my view of what you guys can see is a bit more visible. Aw, thank you. Then I can make sure I'm scrolling correctly, because that's a major problem with these, is that if the poem's long enough that it doesn't all fit on the screen, I have to scroll and hope you guys can read it. Maybe I should put a little background behind chat, because you guys are currently white on white. I'll figure out how to do that another time, because it would have to be see-through still. This is a little document. It's a collection of 3 poems that I have submitted to a competition. That's the first one. If anyone would like, we could read the other 2. I don't believe any of you have heard Garden. I'm planting these words on this piece of paper. I'll watch them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old-growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see it happen. I tend to my stories hour by hour, give them sunlight, water them like flowers. My poems I prune and gently move from my desk to the windowsill under the light of the moon. They sprout 1,000 different kinds right before my eyes, words to eat and words to watch. I gather them in baskets, gift them to my neighbors, tie them with bows, send them floating out the window. I'm planting these words on this piece of paper. I'll watch them grow into a garden. I hope they become an old-growth forest. I'll wait the centuries it takes to see it happen. And the main problem is that when I'm scrolling inside the dock and not the screen, like not the little video player. Although maybe if no, that won't work. Let me try doing that. If I do this. Oh yeah, if I do this, I can see. Yeah. Because I also have to have chat pulled up so I can see you guys. There we go. Yep, this should be more visible, and now I can see what you all see as well. I'm going to scroll down. So this one is not new, but I think I've read it on one stream before. No, actually, I don't think I have. But this one is... I'm pretty proud of this one. It's called Endless Circles. There's a ghost in the corner of my room. She smiles at me. Oh wait, I should probably give a warning. This one's a little bit sad. It's about, it's about like mourning the childhood that could have been sort of thing. I'm going to start now. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She smiles at me. She's so full of joy. I want to cry. She's so small, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? She follows me with laughter in her voice, collects rocks from outside, places them in circling dioramas across my floor. She looks up at me, smiles nervously, and I know she's been judged before. Careful where you step, she's playing a game. It looks like a pattern artwork, but it isn't. I promise it's childhood at work. She looks at me and I can tell she wants my approval so bad. Who hurt you, I ask. But the truth is, I already know who did. There is a ghost in the corner of my room. She's so small. It hurts to look at her and the joy she bleeds into the air. She forgives, she understands, she wants to be understood so bad. She steals my notebooks and makes notations to keep herself from getting bored. Endless subtraction problems and multiplication, all just for fun. And she looks up at me and waits for my approval. Thank you for the follow. I want to cry, I want to scream and break down. You don't have to be approved of to be loved. It doesn't matter if they think you're weird for liking learning. It doesn't matter if the adults think you're strange. It doesn't matter if the kids don't understand your circles. You hold on to those things. But she doesn't believe me. She's been told this before. She's a ghost for a reason, and she's in my room for a reason. I look into her eyes, the same as mine. She's so, so small. How could anyone be so cruel? She makes patterns with her toys. Don't disrupt them, don't make noise. She draws in my notebook stories of stars and planets and how it all began and fanciful interpretations. She makes patterns in the grass, runs exactly in the same order and direction over and over until the cycle is complete. She smiles at me. She smiles at me. There is a ghost living in my room. She's so painfully small. But I watch her sometimes, how she leaves no one behind, but her eyes, she already knows she's been left behind. She looks at me, begging for approval. I want to cry and scream, but she wouldn't understand. If I'd known what I know now, back when I was you, I'd have never changed. I'd have stayed the same, and I wouldn't have looked so hard for approval. So don't look to me, you have it. I didn't mean to kill you, I was you. I didn't know I was outgrowing you. There's a ghost in my room. She is so small. I bring her a pile of shells, watch her eyes light up as she lines them up in endless circles. I can't actually scroll low enough for you guys to see the last line. But thank you for the follow. Oh my goodness. Oh, thank you both for the follow. Okay, so that's the set here. Oh yeah, oh my goodness. So that was the poems I wanted to read today. I mean, but then there's the lore poems. So right now I have just some stuff for the Lil Mia Cascade. I'm just going to call her Cascade for now to separate from me. But I just have the general backstory. She was a clerk for a manor lord. And then she got fired after a famine. The famine was caused by a drought, and the drought was caused by, well, someone pissed off someone or something magical, and that caused the drought. There is many suspicions of who exactly caused this angered something, but there's no confirmation. But everybody knows somebody did it, and there are some pretty heavy indications of who did it exactly. And so I have some just little information. Sister's name is Jam Cascade. Father's name was Braden Cascade. Mother's name was Christabel Cascade. The Manor Lord's name was Lord Lowell Vincent. And the name of the hometown was... I have South Bell as my current favorite, but I had almost put Wolfwood, but I thought that was maybe a little... there's nothing about wolves, so why... It's just a cool... So it doesn't thematically line up, but it's a cool name. And I didn't want to do something serpenty, even though that would be more lore relevant, because I felt like it was probably something serpenty originally and has since been changed to be more nice and normal and welcoming. So I'll probably have to figure out whatever that name used to be. I'm assuming she had servant friends that can be referenced, but I have not made any. There's the history. Someone angered someone or something, causing the drought. Lumia has a keen interest in research and writing, despite being unable to pursue them in an academic capacity, instead focusing on files and keeping the manor in order while maintaining records and tax histories. You know, blah, blah, blah. She's a clerk. It's boring. But the big thing, which isn't necessarily a secret, even though I have it listed under secret, is that Lumia can taste magic. Yeah, but if it's improv, I'm gonna give them stupid names. I'm gonna give them if I do it, like, on the fly, I'm gonna give them the stupidest names you've ever heard. Well, I say, have I told you about my OC Ben Curdlesnurt? Okay, I was doing his name on purpose. Like, I was trying to make a horrible name. That was on purpose. But, like, I can just do that. I'll just come up with something horrible. I mean, I say horrible. It'll probably be funny and hilarious and stick. And that's the worst part. It'll stick and never be let go. Because that is what happened with Ben Curdlesnurt. Because I was going, let me find the worst possible name that sounds like a sneeze. And I succeeded, you know. I think I succeeded. It's a good name. It does actually characterize him very well. The whole point is that his dad started Curdlesnurts, which is a restaurant. And it has become a famous restaurant. It's a famous restaurant chain, even. And his son is not. And his son... Bob Bobbinson, no! But Ben, his son, is not interested in taking over the family business. And so his dad's like, you gotta take over the family business, and sends him to have, like, a summer internship at the original Curdlesnurts, which is where Ben interacts with the main plot of everybody. But the whole point is that it's a silly name that sounds kind of like a sneeze, but it's almost self-important, and and the whole point is within the story itself, it would just keep being brought up as if it's like, yeah, we're gonna go eat at Curdlesnurts. And it's supposed to be like, that doesn't sound like a good place to get food. But the whole point is that everyone's gonna go, oh, we love Curdlesnurts. They've got such good food there. And then the name's ridiculous. And, like, there were some other... I had a lot of funs. Like, there's, Tabitha Maroon, which I was just doing anything... I was like, I'm naming a character Maroon. And I colored... And so she's got maroon hair. She's Tabitha Maroon. And then we've got... It would make it memorable. And then we've got Tabitha's best friend, Moon Frogspawn. and she's a business witch, you see. Witch on her mother's side and business on her father's. She inherited both. That's how that works. Uh, which is why she's a business major and a witch, okay? It can happen. Yeah. I mean, magic isn't real in this world. It's just it's just that she gets her witchiness from her mother. Yeah. And then we also have the third best friend of the trio, Arthur Cobblepot, who his entire thing is that he dresses like a sad Victorian child, but like a, you know, like a higher class sad Victorian child. That's his whole vibe. That's his whole style. That's his fashion sense. He's walking around with a book with a quill stuck behind his ear that he pulls off and then dips in a bottle of ink. Where'd he get the bottle of ink? No one knows. And then he's drawing his furry art that he sells online with that quill and ink, you know. It's important. It's an important aspect of his character. And his older sister, Dawn Cobblepot, she's not Victorian era, but she's certainly much more vintage era style. Oh yeah. Yeah, the whole point is that they're meant to be like a little comedy, like kind of similar to Friends maybe. Oh, but these guys are modern. Where am I gonna fit them? I'm like the cook and her, because the whole thing is that Tabitha wants to open a restaurant called The Friendship. It's her big goal, and so she's a cook at the original Curdle Snurts. um and Moon is like the whole little friend group is like Arthur's like he's currently doing big art commissions. The whole thing is he's gonna be in charge of all the design. They're gonna have the building and he's gonna do all of the design and advertising stuff. And then we've got Moon, who's getting her business degree to be a business witch. And then she will be like running the place, and then Tabitha will be doing the cooking, and they will have their little restaurant. And while they're saving up for this, Tabitha is a cook at the original Curdle Snurts, which is where Ben comes in. He is being forced to do an internship by his dad at the original Curdle Snurts to prepare him for taking over the family business. And you know what? Let me see if I can pull up an image. The image, like, you truly won't understand Ben Curdlesnurt until you've seen him. Let's see. I'm gonna... This is Ben Curdlesnurt. Let me get the others. Okay, this is Tabitha Maroon. This is Moon Frogspawn. And trust me, it is a gay love story. I promise. Let me get... I'm acquiring all of them. Now we need Arthur. Arthur Cobblepot. They need to be shrunk. I'm shrinking them. Now I can be seen again. Wow. Yeah, we love the gay love story. Okay, we've got, and now we have, yeah, the last character is Dawn. There she is. Okay. So, let me... Is there a way to show my mouse? I will just... But yeah, they're also cute. I used a Picroo to make them, but I'll probably draw them at some point. So anyways, the first one is Ben. And the whole joke is that, not joke, but like his whole thing is he wants to become an actor, like his dead mom. Like his mom who died in a terrible acting accident. Like I'm thinking they switched scenes on the stage and there was a loud cacophony and then the lights came back on and she was just lying there dead. And so his father is like refusing to let Ben follow in his mother's footsteps because well, Ben's like, because he's unfair, but really at heart it will be revealed it's because he's so scared of his son meeting the same fate as his wife. Yeah, like, I was like, because it was a lot of me coming up with little bits and gags, like, a lot of jokes, and, like, one was that someone would come in, and they'd be, like, say something about Ben in his pretty pink floral dresses, because the dad's clearly angry with the son, is, like, yelling at, like, you gotta take over the family business, and so someone would make a comment about, like, he's not, your son's wearing dresses, he's not acting right, and then the father will go, how dare you, he cross-dresses just like his mother, how dare you, he's following in her footsteps, how could you say this to my boy? And then the whole joke is that it's like, you can kiss as many boys as you want, and you can wear as many pretty dresses as you want, but I draw the line at acting, because what if you die like your mother? You have to take over the family business, son. And, so the whole thing is that there's a quote-unquote love triangle, but it's an actual love triangle. Yeah, how could you say this to my boy? And so Ben immediately ends up with a crush on Tabitha. And he's like, the only good thing about being forced to work here is that there's the cutest girl I've ever seen. And Tabitha kind of has a crush on him back, kind of. The problem, and he's kind of absorbed into the friend group a little bit. That's how he ends up meeting Moon. Moon also has a crush on Ben, and Ben kind of has a crush on Moon. And so Tabitha and Moon are having this big kind of emotional, we don't want to choose a guy over each other, but we both really like him, and they're handling it maturely, but it's still emotionally tense. And Ben, on his end, he thinks they're already dating, and that he's like, I would love to, he's like, they have crushes on me, I have crushes on them, I would love to have two girlfriends who are dating each other. He's like, this is the best possible outcome. However, Tabitha and Moon are not dating. They have not figured that out yet. They haven't figured out their feelings for each other yet, and Ben, Polly for the win. But eventually, like at the end, Tabitha and Moon figure out their feelings for each other. They confess. They're like, no one will ever come between us. And we're like, and they kind of realize they never actually had a crush on Ben. It was kind of it was really that Ben was wearing pretty dresses and pink floral like it was less of a but he is still a guy, and they're like, so they're, it was mostly, you know, sexuality. They were figuring it out. It was, they could like him because he was a guy, but he was, you know, very feminine. And so they kind of figured it out and figured out they liked each other. And so then they're like, oh, but we've been, both of us individually have kind of been leading Ben on. So they go and they apologize to Ben, and they're like, yeah, we can't date you. We don't like guys, and we've decided to date each other. And he goes, you guys weren't already together? He's like, wait. He's like, back up a step. You guys weren't already dating? He's like, I thought we were gonna get together and be happy forever. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. They're like, you thought we were dating? He's like, yeah, I love Ben. Like, his whole thing is that he's not, like, Tabitha is the main character, Moon is the main love interest, but he's kind of a secondary main character. Like, there'd be an A plot in every episode that would be Tabitha and Moon, whatever they're doing, and then there'd be the B plot of whatever Ben's doing. And then potentially, which would probably involve Dawn. And then there's a C plot of whatever nonsense Arthur is getting up to. And then, but whatever nonsense Arthur is getting up to will be completely resolved by the time anyone else, like, returns and his plot intersects with theirs. And they'll be like, yeah, he just sits around and draws. He's very calm, and nothing strange happens around him. Nothing chaotic. It's very soothing. And then the second they all step away, Ben's, like, life explodes. He's getting into fist fights over it's over his furry artwork, but it's specifically over, like, so, like, you know, someone's like, revealing that online someone stole, like, some of his art. And so he's getting into real life fist fights. He's practically involved with the mob, in like, with the, or mafia, whatever, but more of a as soon as they tread on his furry territory, he has to show them what's what. And like, not necessarily his furry territory, but just art in general. But, like, the whole joke is that everyone's like, yeah, he makes beautiful art, and he's showing them all these beautiful things, and it's like, and how are you making all the money, all the art commission money, and saving up for the restaurant? And he's like, yeah, well, I do a different kind of art online, it's fine. It'll never be revealed what kind of online art commissions he does, other than that they are probably furry art. Like, that's the whole joke, is that, he's like, we've got our sad Victorian artist, and then it's like, no, he is absolutely a modern, ridiculous artist, which is pretty, standard to be interacting with stuff in like, he's like, I'm being dramatic like that. And so, Dawn, who's trans, she is, Ben's older sister. And she, runs the local theater, which is going out, they're not making enough money. They're pretty much gonna go out of business unless this next big show is big, unless it succeeds, unless the local theater's in danger. We gotta put on the best show this town has ever seen. And she writes original plays, and so this is her play. It's the last final stand, and Ben gets introduced, and she's like, hey, you clearly have talent. You could audition and I think you have what it takes to be the lead role. And he's like, I couldn't. My dad wouldn't like it. And she's like, follow your dreams. And so he ends up getting the lead role, being part of the play, and then on the final, like the first first performance, first night, like towards the end of, I guess, whatever this story format will be, he yeah, he's up there performing, and then it cuts to see his dad in the in the audience, he hears about this, he sees the flyer, and he sees his son's face there, and for a moment he thinks it's his Ben's mother, and he's like flashback, traumatic flashback. He was in the crowd, he was watching when the acting accident and she died, you know. And he runs to the local theater. He's in there. He goes through the door, and he sees Ben performing, and it brings a tear to his eyes. And afterwards, Ben sees a curtain call. There, everyone bows, and then Ben sees his dad in the audience, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm gonna be in so much trouble." But then Ben's dad, Mr. Curdlesnurt, he goes to Ben, and he's like, "You're just like your mother. I should have never held you back from following in her footsteps, from doing what you love." And it's a very wholesome moment where he's like, "You have my support in being an actor." And and then we'd have a little epilogue, cut to final scene, where it's revealed Tabitha has saved up enough, and they are opening the friendship. And there's Moon, and there's Tabitha, and there's Arthur, and they're so excited. And then Dawn and Ben make it to the grand opening, and because Ben and Dawn have started dating, and Dawn has made it big as a playwright, and Ben has become like a big famous actor, and it's essentially happy ever after for all 5 of them. Very sweet. But yeah, they're fun, but it's an example of what I do with names. Either that'll be pretty basic like Dawn and Arthur, or it'll be fun like Cobblepot. Let me... Getting rid of them. I'm sorry, you guys can't see him anymore. Say goodbye to Ben. He's leaving. He's leaving. It's very tragic. Wait, what did I do? No. I deleted the wrong thing. No, Ben, you were supposed to be the one to leave. Not, oh my god. Oh my god. I literally... How do I get it back? Where's the undo? No! Ben didn't want to leave. Where's... Okay, but now I need to center this. Goodness. I hate having to remake the thing. There we go. Or not quite. Let me... Fixed. Yep, I'm using OBS. So I do have more poems. But these are the lore poems. So this one is... So these are just, like, lore, things people say from Cascade's hometown. And remember, she can taste magic. And it runs in her family. Like, her sister can feel magic on her skin as, like, a physical weight or texture. And her dad can hear magic. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's kind of what this is, I'll admit. Me making sure everything is set up correctly. While also having some fun. Oh, and I don't know if you noticed, but I have some emotes. I see the cheering emote hasn't been approved yet, but there are... I've got some emotes. I'm very proud of the little Yippee Lumia, but... Yeah. Also got my tiers of Lumia, bronze, silver, gold. I'm very excited. I have not streamed with the emotes yet. Are you following? Because I have some free follow emotes. Huh. No, you're following. You should be able to access them. Oh, I don't know why. It's possible that it's just because you are not, like, a subscriber. You're the Twitch streamer. Although I feel like you should be able to use your own in that case. But I've never been able to... Actually, I don't think I've been able to use mine in other people's streams, so who knows? Okay. I'm gonna read the childhood rhyme. There speaks a darkness in the no, different tone. There speaks a darkness in the shadows beneath blades of grass and the underside of leaves that slithers like a snake and wraps around your knees, brings you tumbling down to earth so that you lay amongst it and feast on the fear that you feel for it. Among the people of this land are those born to see it, who hear it rustling when no one else does, who smell it from a distance, who feel the danger of it on their skin, who taste the deception it brings in its wake, who see it coiling in the shadows like a snake. Beware the warnings of those so blessed, that we might know where darkness has crept. Be wary where they startle and flinch, and be careful only to step where they step. There speaks a darkness in the shadows beneath blades of grass, and the underside of leaves that slithers like a snake and wraps around your knees, brings you tumbling down to earth so that you lay amongst it and feast on the fear that you feel for it. And I'm noticing my thing is slightly out of alignment. That should be better, I think. So that is kind of the whole saying. There's people who can sense this little shadow snake. And as in perhaps sensing magic. And then there is the warning. Anger not the magic here, the people, the creatures, the things. We will drain your water, eat up your land. Remember, humans are no more grand than any other animal caught in death's hands. Anger not the magic here, and listen to those who hear us. Our warning passes by your senses, but not theirs, for some part of them is part of us. So listen to their voices as they repeat our warning. They may be yours, they may be human, but anger not the magic here, for we will gladly steal away the gifts, the people we have once given. Well, welcome in, first time chatter. Thank you, Firewave. The words are chosen carefully in poetry. Like, you have to, I mean, not always for the same reason, but figuring them out is kind of the whole thing. Like, there's this, for instance, which was given to me as a challenge. It was this is part of my stream poetry. Well, they're not necessarily chosen because they rhyme. Poetry doesn't have to rhyme. With the flow of words, it does tend to rhyme automatically when you're writing it, if you have a lot of practice. And there are specific, like, rhyme schemes if you're following a specific style of poetry that you have to follow. But specifically in American freestyle poetry, well, I guess freestyle poetry anywhere, but America was where free verse poetry, not freestyle, sorry, free verse was invented. It removed a lot of the necessary need for something to rhyme, for something to follow to have specific stanzas, to have pretty much anything. It's just writing. And, like, there's not a limit on the number of syllables or stuff like that. So it makes it interesting. Okay, it was invented by, it was invented long before that. Significantly, it was invented, during the Harlem Renaissance. I don't know how else to answer. It was invented during the time period of the Harlem Renaissance, and it was invented by Walt Whitman, and this heavily influenced. It was America's first literary genre that was entirely the United States, and it has since spread and become very popular, but it was invented by Walt Whitman in around the Harlem Renaissance era. I'm sorry, I'm in a class right now, and we literally learned this, like, last week. I don't know. It's just, I just feel like you understand the Harlem Renaissance came before Soviet era Poland. Like, you understand that the timeline, right? That it's not possible for it to have been invented there because that happened after? I'm not going to debate historical facts with you. But hey, Lenzar, hi, welcome in. I'm doing some poetry. I think you're misspelling that on purpose. Are you here to enjoy poetry and lore building for a character, or? Right. Okay. Hmm. Yeah, so Lenzar, I'm actually showing that the poem where you gave me the silly title can help to as like a challenge of you can't make a poem out of this, and then I did because I'm thinking of doing some of the stream poetry. So I'm going to read it. The man who sat on the toilet. The man who sat on the toilet held his head in his hands. It seemed the only time the world paused was when the door locked and the stall closed and no one could come to ask him for assistance. He felt that he was running on everyone else's time, that his life was not his own, that he could not lock the door, could not turn off his phone. That work invaded every hour and someone always needed something. That the only time someone accepted that maybe he wasn't free was when the door locked and the stall closed and he could say, "Just a minute, I'm on the toilet, I can't answer the phone." But then there's also some silly ones. I mean, that was silly, but like there's more silly ones. There's where like Dave or Sharks Are Cool. Here, let me see if I can. I mean, I do write, like, I do sing poetry as well. Like, I don't need someone else for that. Like, I can pull up one of my songs. Let me. Where's Blood Drop? There we go. Blood Drop's a good one because it's exclusively sung. A lot of mine can be read or sung, but this one is exclusively sung. Okay. No, just that I don't need assistance in writing or singing things. It's not like I'm a trained singer or actress. I just have choir experience. I feel like you're trying to start a fight, and I'm not sure why. Um, hmm. So this is Blood Drop. I wrote this one years ago in high school. Um, but it's still I still like it a lot. It's a fairy tale essentially, but a modern day one. This might take a few seconds because it's pretty low. Singing of it. You don't need to. Apologizing for a personality is not the same thing as attempting to pick a fight. Um, it's fine. You don't need to apologize. You just need to not attempt to do that. Blood Drop. She wanders through the streets, sneakers on the concrete, dark hair curling by her cheeks, dark eyes searching, streetlight lurching, pale skin, moonlight, sunset wears her bike. The bike lock's been broken, tire prints into the encroaching night. Ghost town, not really, footprints, gum stuck on sidewalks, signs of life everywhere. No one's dead, no one's sleeping, hiding in their homes. Dark creature of the night is creeping, dark eyes of the girl, heart beating, mind reeling, car tires screeching, no one stops to save the girl. She pulls her hoodie up, dark blue, black jeans ripped, walks slowly like you're not afraid. The spider is more afraid of you than you are of it. Dark eyes sweeping, silence weeping, sneakers squeaking. She steps over the cracks in the concrete. No escape, no rest to take, no sleep for the dead, no escape for the dying. The sun has set, but when it rises, life will bless this town again. Until then, silent walking. Quiet walking, silent stalking, she hopes and hopes and hopes, and something steps upon a crack on the sidewalk, and she runs. She runs like she's never run. She can hear it singing. Blood drop, blood drop, why do you run? Just breathe a moment, we'll have some fun. Blood drop, why do you run? You're only a drop in the pool that I've drawn. She runs to the fountain where some make wishes, bloody handprints cover the basin. She knows a wish won't save her, the others it seemed didn't learn that lesson. But she's young and she's foolish and she's hopeful and brave, so past the fountain she runs in towards the church graves. She hears laughter behind her and she knows that the monster has no care for any religion humans have grown. But the graves aren't the destination, sneakers on grass as her chances look bleaker. One bright idea, two stupid neon sneakers. Sharp left, sharp right. When met with a predator, remember to zigzag. Onto a road past closed shops, to the shop the owner always forgets to lock. Yank the door open, glass won't keep it out for long. Light in the dark, crack, 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 crack. Neon light spilling from a collection of plastic sticks. Modern inventions might just destroy monsters of old. She drops the glow sticks, fumbling her pocket knife out of her pocket. Toxic color, liquid spills, her hands sting, bits of glass. She stares into the eyes of the monster. For the first time, dark eyes meet dark eyes. In the neon light, she throws the liquid poison light into dark eyes, and the blood drop poisons the monster. Well, if you'd rather apologize than attempt to not do that, that means that's not an apology. Why would it? Never mind. I wrote this in high school, my junior year. I'm not necessarily proud of it, but it's a different style. It's very fun. Let me see if there's anything here that would be fun to read. And I'm glad you like it, Firewave. Yeah. Not my best rendition of it, to be sure, but just I'm glad you like it as well. The beach is fun. This one is not quite, I think it's older than Blood Drop. I wrote it physically on paper, and it stayed like that until the paper literally started disintegrating, and I had to move it to an online document. You stand on the beach, the waves, the sun. There's a cut on your lip that you worry at. You breathe in the sea spray. It stings like rubbing alcohol and tastes like seaweed and fish. Salty. Dry sand, soft to walk on, hot enough to burn, clings to you like glitter, scratching in your eyes. The horizon is flat and endless. The sea is murky brown. The sun melts the sunscreen on your face, dripping down your cheek into your eyes. The wind and waves are so loud, the only noises you can hear are your own thoughts. Poets love the ocean, the beauty, unfathomable depths. There is something about staring at these waters, wondering, where is it? Where is it? What are you missing? The magic of a lonely beach is from a time long past. The sun heats your skin, burns it. The wind whips your hair into your face, choking you with it. Your sister makes a moat with a pile of sand in the center. She sticks a broken clamshell the size of your nail on top and calls it a castle with seaweed sticking to her hands. Maybe the beach retains some of its magic after all. that was about a specific beach trip. I wrote it on the beach. It was, now that I think about it, it must have been before I moved, because I was the Brown Waters. I was talking about the Chesapeake. I was sitting, and like, we don't even have on the Chesapeake, you don't get sand, you get rocks. Oh no, not beach trip. It's I lived on the coast. Well, I lived on the bay. Chesapeake Bay. It's a very large area of brackish water. It also used to hold the world's largest dead zone. But thanks to decades of activism and active restoration projects, the dead zone has been shrinking. I remember, like, there was in third grade, being given the whole lecture by a visiting marine biologist who was part of the restoration efforts. And I remember that they said, hey, if we transferred water quality and the health of the bay into a numerical system and then gave it a letter grade based on it, where C is pretty good and A is a healthy bay, for the past 50, 60, no more, like, they don't have enough data going back far enough, but before the restoration project, it was an F. It would have gotten a failing grade. And in just 10 years, they raised it to a D. And then 5 years later, it was officially a C. It was a passing grade. And that was, it was still a quote-unquote C when I was in third grade, but it was improving so rapidly that they were very hopeful they'd be able to reach at least a B in just a couple years. People can swim in it, absolutely. Like, it wasn't dangerous to swim in. It was mainly the dead zone and the fact that people were harvesting the oysters and had been for centuries. And the big thing wasn't harvesting the oysters. It was not putting the shells back in the water. It was, like, I participated in a reef restoration project because a big thing about the bay is the oysters. It's like how the water supply of the entirety of Maryland is actually controlled democratically by 3 oysters with a stick glued onto them. That when they close, all 3 of them need to close. It's not one oyster. It's democratic. When the oyster closes its shell, the stick comes down, presses a button, and the water shuts off, because that means it is toxic. It is no longer safe for people to interact with. And they use the oysters instead of equipment to test it, because the oysters are more accurate. I'm not, like, too interested in oysters. Oysters. I can't. Oh, I've said it too many times now. But when you live in Maryland for any period of time, you kind of get to know, hey, they're really important to the environment all over the world. And they, did you know an oyster can completely clean and decontaminate, what was it? A gallon of water, more than a gallon of water per hour. I can look up the exact statistic, but it's, like, the big thing is that the oysters were what were keeping the bay clean. Whole pool is a bit much. I mean, it depends on the size of the pool. And that's just one oyster, and there's supposed to be, hundreds of thousands of these things in the Chesapeake Bay, and there's not because of overharvesting. So a lot of the restoration efforts have just been put the oysters back in. It doesn't actually depend on the size of the oyster very, like, as long as it's an adult oyster, they all filter gallons of water. And the big thing is that shells are filled with calcium. Yeah, they're one of the most efficient water cleaners. You wouldn't have oysters near there. They're probably clams or a different species. Because clams are, I mean, you could have oysters, I suppose. Oh yeah, if they make it luminescent, then they're not that's a different species. But cause there's a big thing is that you could just collect the oyster shells. You should put them back in the water and not collect them. But they were everywhere. And they'd be the size of the nail on my pinky finger, or they'd be bigger than my thumb. And some of the ones I saw were bigger than my hand. I think the biggest I ever saw I was pretty young, so smaller, but it was about half the size of my head. But that's about as big as they get, and I was much younger. I was a kid, so not as big as half of my head would be now, although who knows. Because if you go deep sea, you can get bigger ones, but we're in the bay, so they're not going to get too much bigger than that. Clam, it's just a different species of mollusk. Yeah, I've gotten distracted by ecology. I love marine biology. And part of that was growing up on the bay. And, like, I did actively see the bay improve over time. And part of the water being brown was actually just because it was brackish water. It wasn't necessarily, I mean, some of it was not pollution as in, like, chemical pollution necessarily, although there was a lot of chemical nitrogen pollution from the farmers. But a lot of it was just debris pollution, which just because of erosion. But because of that, water would be brown. Oh, the water was brown in most of the locations. Oh, the shell? Well, the clam inside it grows the shell, like a snail. Like when it hatches from its little egg, or free floating zooplankton. Oh no, shells aren't stone. They're calcium carbonate. Oh yeah, it is absolutely the pH balance, but that was the big thing everyone was so excited about fixing, because it's been, like, not entirely fixed, but pretty much fixed. There's a lot of issues with algae blooms, and those were what were causing the dead zones. I mean, those are what are causing the dead zones world over, but it was specifically runoff from farmers with nitrogen, who were using nitrogen fertilizer, because it's really good for fertilizing, and it would just run into the bay, and not just from the area around Maryland, but, like, everywhere, because the bay, it's a big bay. It's fed by rivers from several different states, and it runs through a lot of them, and you end up with all of those pollutants, and it's much harder to convince people to stop polluting the water when they're not near a water source and they can't see what it's doing. When they're by a river and the river itself is not polluted, it's harder to convince people, don't dump stuff in it. You're affecting us over 300 miles away. We are the ones being affected. Because it washes out to the bay, and then it takes and then it stays there, and before it goes out to the ocean, because that's what a bay is: brackish water mixing between fresh water and salt water of the ocean. I mean, it's also why I love crab. I live inland now, and it sucks so bad because I'll go, ooh, I want seafood, and I'll go and I'm like, this seafood is disgusting. Yeah. It's harder to convince people not to pollute a river because the river will just wash it away. But it's like, hey, so it's because, like, in Maryland, pretty much everyone's gung-ho about, well, let's fix the Chesapeake, because we love the Chesapeake. The Chesapeake is everything. It's so many people's livelihoods. It's also just generally beautiful. Oh, I see, yeah. You see food and you eat it? Yeah. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah. Um, but I mean, there's been a lot of difference made with a lot of dead zones all over the world, and it was kind of it was just how big the Chesapeake Bay one was, and that we actually um that we actually were having this huge effect. And the main thing was the oysters being returned, like being fully reintroduced, upping the populations, doing everything to improve that. And so it kind of inspired a lot of different conservation efforts on land, in the water, all over the world, to focus on finding a keystone species and restoring it. Um, because that's usually the issue. A keystone species is being affected somehow. Um, Sorry, I'm zoning in and out, but I've had, like, I remember I finally found a place that served Maryland crab dip. Apparently, if you go other places outside of far enough away from the coast and you ask for crab dip, they will not serve you crab dip. They will serve you some sort of dip with crab in it. And I'm like, what is this? It tastes like you just added crab to to a random dip. That is not what crab dip is. Crab dip is a crab-based dip that has, like, cheese in it. This has no cheese. But I did find one place locally. Of course, it's expensive, and so I never get to go. But they serve not Maryland crab dip, but it is close enough. It's still a correct crab dip. It's not a dip that has crab in it. It's a crab dip. And I know it sounds ridiculous to say the difference, because of course the crab dip in Maryland has such a generic name. But the thing is because there's not any other kind of crab dip until you leave the area and people go, oh, you want crab dip? I guess I'll add some crab to a dip. And I'm like, that is not how that works. And it's a tragedy every time I go somewhere new to eat and I see some crab on the menu and I go, oh my god, I haven't had crab in ages. And then I take a bite and I'm like, this is whitefish. How dare you? This is whitefish. Yeah, I'm like, I was spoiled in Maryland. You could get seafood anywhere. But let's see. I think I'm gonna do one more poem, and then probably I should go eat. That's probably why I'm focused on the crab. I'm hungry. um, you know what? How to Mourn is a good one. It's the first poem I ever got published. Um, warning, this is about the death of a grandparent, so if that is triggering, you should probably leave. Or mute for a minute. How to Mourn. 1. Worry. Be scared of yourself. You never miss people when they've left, only when they're leaving. If someone dies, will you remember them the way they were? Will you remember to miss them? Don't. You are tempting fate. 2. Fall. The worst day of your life is here. Welcome it, or you will be overwhelmed. Your grandfather is dead. You knew him. Knew. Past tense. He is gone. You will not remember him as he was. You will miss the way you could have known each other. You will lose the past. Don't bother holding on. But the future presses down against you. You lose your footing inside your mind. Crash. Hide in your room. You are empty. Cry anyways. You weren't close. You could have been. You were getting to know him. He will never read your poems again. He will never finish the poem he was writing. He will never read another story to you as you sit on his knee, his beard scratchy as you lean against his chest. That's okay. You've been too big to sit in his lap for almost a decade now anyways. Slam your notebook shut and send it flying into the shelves with a satisfying noise. Burn. Your suitcase is packed for the funeral. You want to read something. Your bookshelf is empty of words. It holds only blurred ink. Pull out the keyboard. Write him one last poem. You will read it to his ashes. Inspiration sparks from grief, and you are glowing with grief. Arrive. There aren't enough rooms in the house. You will sleep in his study. There is a bookshelf with every poem he ever wrote on it, ripped up nice and neat. It is an old house. The dust has already settled in. His desk is empty. You will write at it. Fill in the spaces with words he will never hear. Wake up. Speak. You will wear shoes that pinch your toes, a black dress you will outgrow in only a month. You will have a typed up poem clenched between your hands, your teeth. Your sister will play her trumpet. You will learn more about him than you ever knew. You will stand up. You will read to the flowers around his urn. You will perform. You will remember. Live. You have yet to visit his grave. Maybe you never will. He will never see you grow up, but you will remember in his place. Let go of the past. The future is better without it. You will remember just as you will forget. There we go. Oops, I just closed out of chat. Did not mean to do that. Oh, that's an axolotl. It's an axolotl in a little, with a little space helmet attached to a little, astronaut. I mean, the astronaut is me, but thank you for being here, Firewave. It was great talking to you. Yeah, my little sister drew this little background image for me. It was very sweet of her. Okay. Does anyone want to go on a raid somewhere? Oh yeah, see you in the I will see you in the server. Absolutely. I'm gonna see if there's somebody else in doing poetry. Oh, someone's doing, I think probably there's a November writing challenge. I will send you guys over to them. Okay. See you later, Firewave. And as for you, WhatsApp, my grandfather was late 80s. I think he might have been 89. So we'll see.